Well, welcome back to another episode of Tear Down the Old Seeburg Jukebox, Part 3. This is getting more and more fun. I'm actually beginning to get the hang of this, believe it or not. I'm beginning to understand what Seeburg was trying to accomplish when they built and designed how this jukebox goes together. The whole thing was designed with one word in mind: simplicity. It was designed to where the dumbest guy on the planet, when it comes to jukeboxes, someone like me, could actually hook it all up with all the wires and all the plugs, and if everything else was functional, it would work. No two plugs are the same. No two plugs on this jukebox are the same. Everything is different. They may look the same, but they are not the same. An example right here and right here. Every plug is different, so you can only put the right plug in the right hole. Isn't that cool? Even these right here, these are different. Each one is different, and everything is just easy to assemble, easy to disassemble. And it's amazing. A lot of thought went into this thing. Anyway, today we're going to go ahead and remove the selection board, I guess is what they call it. And I've done a little studying on this thing, and you'll notice that right here there's a couple of screws that I have taken out right here. The selection board, I'm talking about this keyboard down here. These two screws I have already taken out. Let me zoom in here. Those two have come out, and I've got them laying right there. And I've got the bottom one out over here, right there. Unfortunately, the top one is behind this mess right here. Now this mess right here is designed to let that carriage mechanism move back and forth. And I'm not 1,000% sure how it works, but you know, I'm pretty much in the know of what it's for. And then of course, again, we have our fluorescent tube light holders, one on each side with our starter. And we're going to go ahead and remove these like we did before and put the screws back in the holes. And then we're going to remove this so we can get to that top screw up here and get that bolt out. And once that bolts out, we'll go ahead and pull all these cables up through the hole here, and basically the same thing as what we had with the carriage mechanism, or the selection mechanism, or whatever the heck they call it. I don't think I'll ever get the terms right. Doesn't matter. All I know is that it carries the records. It selects the records. That's good enough, you know. One thing I did notice though, which I'm not too crazy about, you'll notice right here we have a bare, get that little focus here now. Look at that, we got us a bare wire right here. No insulation on it at all, and another one right there. Somebody spliced them together and never did insulate them. That's not very good. Anyway, let's go ahead and get these out and remove that thing and see if that doesn't loosen up our keyboard all the way. I think the keyboard is going to have to come down from the bottom. I may even have to remove this to give me enough room to make that swing. I don't know. We'll find out shortly. Well, I've got the other side out, but this side here appears that we may not have to take out the screws and remove the actual socket. All we got to do is remove this bracket. So let's see what happens when I remove the bracket. Remember, the whole idea here is to clear this thing out so we can get to that screw right up in there. So let's take this out. Well, that's that. Let's put our screw back in here. Again, there's some screws missing here. Well, how about that? Look at here. We got some wing nuts. I wonder if those are original. Probably are. They sure look it. Well, how about that? This whole thing came right out. Looky there. And now I can get on up there to that screw with no problem. So let's get that screw out and see if this whole keyboard doesn't come loose. Alright, the two screws are out on this side and that side. Now we have to pull the wires up through here. Let me go ahead and feed those babies up. I don't want to damage anything. Alright, here they are. These are the wires going up. These are the 1, Two round ones and a big old square one. Now, if I figured right, we should be able to move this thing, unless there's some screws up here holding it on. I don't know. We'll find out. Let's see if we can jiggle this thing at all. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This side's not quite so... Oh, okay. It's loose too. Alright. Let's go around to the front. You know, from having worked on radios, I'm always gun shy when it comes to knobs and things. You know, we don't want to break them, especially if they're original knobs. And I don't know what's holding these push buttons on that mechanism. If I'm not careful, these things might fall out and break. So I'm going to have to do this with both hands, very carefully, and then hopefully they're not broken underneath already. I don't want them to just fall off. I don't know if they, you know, there's some kind of release mechanism underneath, which would be good. But let me work on that very, very slowly. And I'm going to try to take that whole mechanism out from the back. Let's see what happens. Wish me luck, guys. Well, it turns out there is a light bulb behind here. And it's connected on. I'm going to have to remove that wire. It just pops out, apparently. Yeah, there it is, just like one in a car. It's like a car light bulb. But she's being a little bit stubborn. I've got to be very careful. Let's try it again. Well, what you think of that? It is out. Once I just, this side over here was a little bit stubborn, but once I lifted it up, it finally came out. With a little bit of a wiggle. This side here just practically fell out. So what's holding on our buttons? Let's go around the other side and take a look. Apparently they just rest against these little levers right here. You know, they're not connected in any way as far as I can tell. Let's look at them from the rear. Well, apparently underneath each button is a pad, a rubber pad of some kind that just presses against those levers. I wonder what holds them in. Might be this bar right here. I don't know. Let me see if I can get one out. We can take a closer look at it. Well, let me reach under here. See those buttons are all held on by a bar underneath down here. Let's see if all the rest are in good shape. Okay. And what I'm going to try to do is remove all these buttons, put them in a bag for safekeeping. These are easy to get, you know. Believe it or not, there are several on. I've seen lots of them on eBay, really, for sale. The problem is they all think they're gold, you know. So what we're going to do right now is take these screws and put them back in here where I got them, so I don't lose them. We don't need to be losing these things. No, we don't. Always be on the safe side on that stuff. Not that we can't find more, but why bother, you know? That long metal bar with those small 1/4-inch bolts does in fact hold all these buttons in, these push buttons. And here's what they look like. Boy, there's some let me just get a close up here. They started falling out as soon as I loosened them. Now I didn't have to take all the bolts all the way out of that bar. I just had to loosen them up and these knobs started coming off. But we're going to take that bar completely down. Look at the crud on these buttons after all these years. Since 1961. Look at that. Shoo-wee. And they don't have a rubber thing that presses a button. They have a metal thing. It just wraps around. Pretty neat, huh? Alright, let's see if we can get the rest of them off and get that bar off. And see what that looks like. Because these knobs, they just fell right out. And they shouldn't really have done that, actually. Well, the bar is out and all of the screws have been put back in the holes. However, these little things here, kind of interesting. I don't know what they are. They have nothing to do with the spring mechanism, and maybe they're just the separations for the buttons. Anyway, some of them apparently are missing. They're not there. They're not there. A couple did fall out, but I picked them up and put them back in here. This set over here has something missing also right there. Kind of interesting. I don't know what that is. I know that the buttons rested on them. I'm going to have to look in the book and study this a little more. Some of these may have just worn out and fell out over the years. Maybe I'm thinking that they go side by side by side, but that may not be the case. We'll see. I'll keep I'll keep skull braining it here. Well, I did find one thing out just by taking out this thing. This push button mechanism is actually called, check this out, I don't know if you can read that down in there or not. Let me see if I can get down there without making it too blurry. It's called the Tormat. See the top letter there? Tormat. Electrical Selector. The Tormat Electrical Selector. There you go. I knew it all along. The Tormat Electrical Selector. I've got all of these things placed back into grooves. It's kind of interesting. All of the little copper things on this side are all dual. There's 2 in 1. See it? There's 2 fastened together on the back. And on the other side, over here, most of them are like that, but the ones on the end, this is a single. Yeah. I don't know if that thing's been broken over the years or what the situation is on that. I'm going to have to do some heavy reading tonight. I don't know why that's like that. I'm not even sure what they're there for. Anyway, there's also a single one on the end down here. So we'll go ahead and just bag these things up so they don't get lost. And I'll do a camera record here so we, you know, there's empty ones here and there. I don't know where they could have gone. Over the years, I guess they fell out, worn out, fell out or something. I just don't know. And here's something else that's kind of strange. These springs, the record changing unit sits on these springs, and they have rubber grommets that they sit down in these holes here, and they got all 4. But this one is missing one of those little, how the heck could it be missing one of those little V-shaped things right there in the top. It's inside the spring. And so is this one here. Kind of weird. And this one here does have it. However, it's the only one that has an adjustment rod on the bottom. Yeah, I'm not sure what to think about that. Again, I'm going to have to give it the manual and see what that has to say. So I think what we're going to do is go ahead and remove these. I don't know if I told you, but these things slide. And then this one here, we'll get this one out. And we'll put all this mess together, and then we'll remove this next. And then we'll take a look at some stuff in the back, and we'll wrap up the video. Well, I've got these 3 screws out, and this thing does not want to come out. So maybe these clips here, this is a type of plastic diffuser of some kind. I'm not exactly certain why it's there. But I think I have to slip these things out from underneath these clips. It's going to take 2 hands. I don't want to take a chance of breaking this thing. Let me see what I can do with that. If I can get that out, that may be what's holding both of these in. I don't know. We'll see. Well, apparently that's what it was. Man alive, look at all the cigarette tar on that thing. This thing was in a bar, there's no doubt about it. And the rest of it, I think, will just slide right out from underneath these clips. A couple of these clips weren't even clipped. Now, who is calling me? It must be wifey. Alright, that's out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 5 clips and only 3 of them were holding it in. There again, apparently this had been torn apart, or when they put it together they just didn't clip it all together. I don't know. Anyway, a question was asked, did this jukebox, in the last video, I think it was the first video, yeah, the first video, the question was asked, did this jukebox play when I bought it from Cindy? She claimed it did, until one day she opened up the door and the door fell off. And when it did, it took the Tormat and the amplifier with it, and it never played again. So that was another incentive for her, you know, to go ahead and sell it. Let somebody else, it's somebody else's headache. I don't blame her. I would have done the same thing. There were some broken tube, maybe 2, and there may have been some other things, but it was time for this thing to be refurbished. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Now down here, I think, over here, let's start over here with something I probably recognize a little bit more. That is the ballast for all of the lighting, the fluorescent lighting in this jukebox. I think that's what it is, because it hooks to all the lighting connectors, and I think it also hooks to those little starters, that start the bulbs. This here has something to do with the stereo system. It connects to the speakers. Okay, this does in fact connect to the speakers, and there's all your little connectors right there. And there's some important information on there. And this here was the power cord. I'm not sure. This kind of looks original, where everything that needs power inside the juke will plug into that. But at one time it went to pieces. Back up here a little bit, you can see where it all went to pieces. So somebody taped on this extension cord and put it on with these wire nuts. That's going to go. It's all going to go, folks. And over here is the coin box that collected all the money. The change mechanism, I mean, they accepted the money, was here, but it's no longer there. It's apparently been bypassed, which is fine. I don't want to have to put money in it to make it work anyway. The way this thing worked is you'd put your money in the front of the jukebox right there, and the coin would slide on down to here to a flexible flat tube. And that flexible flat tube is up in there, see it? And then it would go into the coin counting mechanism, and then once the songs were selected, the money, I think, would go down into the coin box, and you know, the old jukebox guy would come by every so often and check the records and make sure they're okay, check to make sure it's operational, find out which ones were played the most, and collect the money. Well, that's it for now, guys. I'm not gonna do any more. We'll do some more ripping and tearing next time. I know some of you want me to keep on going, but we'll save some of it, okay? Besides, the wife just called. You heard the phone ring. She wants to take the doggies down to McDonald's and get them a burger. Well, that's what we're going to do. So until next time, this is John.